Okay, House Young and Patricia, can you take out your P6 week 23 worksheet? Okay, then we will start, okay? So question 1. Fredrick's present age is a multiple of 4. Next year, his age will be a multiple of 3. If Fredrick is more than 32 years old, but less than 55 years old now, how old is he now? Okay, so we are given present age, means the current age, the age this year. And we are given the age next year. They tell you that the present age is a multiple of 4. So let's list out your multiple of 4 all the way until 55. "44, 48, 52, 56. You only need to list out until 55 because his age is less than 55. What about the age next year? They told you that it will be a multiple of 3. So same thing, list all the way until 55 because his age is less than 55. So 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, 27, 30, 33, 36, 39, 42, 45, 48, 51. Yes. Okay, so now we'll eliminate those that are not less than. Okay, so now we'll only keep those that are more than 32 and less than 55. And the rest we can just eliminate them. So this one can eliminate more than 32. It means 32 also cannot. Must be more than 32. So eliminate a 32. Then must be less than 55. So this. Then next year also can eliminate. Until here. Okay. So now let's look at all the options we are left with. If your present age is 36, it means next year must be 37, right? You see a 37 here? No, so you'll cancel this off. Okay, next, we are given that present age might be 40. Can it be 40? If this year is 40, next year must be 41. Is there 41 here? No. So we can cancel this. So we'll move on. What about present age being 44? It means next year, Fredrick must be 45, right? So is there a 45 here? Yes, there is. Which means how old is he now? He is 44 years old. And that's your answer. Okay, next. A rectangular piece of paper is folded to form the shape shown below. Find the perimeter of the rectangular piece of paper before it was folded. Okay, so let's recall what is perimeter. Perimeter means you just add up all the sides together. Yeah, but they want it before it was folded. So let's try to unfold this paper first. So this one will come back here. So it'll look something like this. And this will be 5 cm because it's here. And this guy will be 6 cm. Here will also be 6 cm. We can unfold it so this triangle will come back here. Okay, so hope everything so far okay. Which means here also 5 cm. Okay, so now we'll do the same thing for the other side. So this one, I'll unfold it. So now it becomes like that. This one, this triangle can also unfold. So when you unfold, it becomes here, this triangle over here. So then we can label here. Here will be 5 cm. And here will be 6 cm. So now erase things to make things clearer. Then here would be 5 cm because it's here. And here will be 6 cm. Okay, so hope everything so far okay. Okay. So we managed to unfold it. So this was the figure before. So this was the unfolded part. So now we just have to find the parameter, right? So let's find the length first. So let's label. Here will be 13 cm. Here will be 5 cm. Maybe I should do this. Okay, so what's the length of the rectangle? Which means like the figure before it was folded. Just 6. Just 6 plus 5 plus 13 plus 5 plus 6, right? So 6. So the length was 6 plus 5 plus 13 plus 5 plus 6. So this should give you 35. Or the breadth. The breadth was 5 cm. So to find the parameter, we just have to take the length times 2, right? Because there's another length here. So parameter means you add up all the sides together. So add up this orange guy and this orange guy. It will just be 35 times 2. So that will be 70. But you still have to add the 2 breadth. So here, the green guy and the green guy over here. So that's 5 plus 5, or just 5 times 2. So you should get 70 plus 10, which should give you 80 cm. This one says 80 cm. Okay, so now we'll do question 3. A rectangle measures 10 cm by 8 cm. Its area is decreased by 20%. What is the area of the new figure? So let's find the area of the original figure first. And it's actually a rectangle that measures 10 cm by 8 cm. So length by breadth. And what is the area, or what is the formula for area of rectangle? It is length times breadth. So in this case, length is 10, breadth is 8. So original rectangle is 80 cm square. And now the area is now decreased by 20%. So original always mean 100%, which means 100% is 80. When you find out what 1% is, which is just 80 divided by 100. So it should give you 0.8. Then now we just have to find out what happens in the end, which is decreased by 20%. So now the figure should be 100% minus 20%, which is 80%. So the new figure is actually 80% the area of the original figure. So to find out what 80% is, just have to take 0.8 times 80. And this should give you 64 cm squared. That's why answer is 64 cm squared. Next, Sam has 3.7 as much money as Michael and 3.4 as much money as Peter. What is the ratio of Sam's money to the total amount of money the 3 boys have? So let's look at the fraction individually. These 3 over here belongs to Sam, and this 7 over here belongs to Michael. At the same time, Sam also has 3/4 as much money as Peter, which means this 3 belongs to Sam and 4 belongs to Peter. So we got 3 characters. We got Sam, we got Michael, we got Peter. So first one tells you Sam has 3, Michael has 7. And in this second fraction, tells you that Sam has 3, while Peter has 4. So now we can combine everything. Lucky for us, Sam has 3 units in both the first scenario and the scenario. That's why we don't need any manipulation. We can just keep it as it is. So Sam has 3, Michael has 7, and Peter has 4. And the total will just be 3 unit plus 7 unit plus 4 unit, and that should give you 14 units. And that's why answer is 3 is to 14, because Sam is to total is 3 is to 14. So answer is 3 is to 14. Question 5. Ken has $70. After receiving $4x from his father, he had just enough money to buy 3 identical wallets. What is the cost of each wallet in terms of X? So let's find out what's the cost of 3 wallets first. So initially Ken has $70, but this was not enough to buy 3 wallets. He needs to receive $4x from his father, then this amount is enough for him to buy 3 wallets. But the question don't want to find 3 wallets, they want to find what's the cost of 1 wallet. So same thing, we just take the whole thing, I divide it by 3. And this is actually the simplest form. So there's no need for you to simplify any further. This one answer is 70 plus 4x over 3. Question 6. In a school hall, there were 2/5 as many boys as girls. After 3 boys left the hall and another 3 girls entered the hall, there are now 1/3 as many boys as girls in the school hall. How many children were there in the school hall at first? So we got 2 characters, we got boys, and we got girls. We got at first, got change, and we got in the end. Okay, so now let's look at the individual fractions. So these 2 belongs to boys, these 5 belongs to girls. So at first, boys to girls is 2 is to 5. Then after that, 3 boys left, so boys minus 3, 3 girls entered, so girls plus 3. Now 1 belongs to boys, and these 3 belongs to girls. So in the end, the ratio is 1 is to 3. So what's the thing that is constant at the start and in the end? So this is something that is a very important concept. So let's do it at the side. So imagine you got 9 students at first, regardless of gender. I tell you 3 students left the hall, and now another 3 students join in. At first you got 9 students, at the end you still have 9 students, right? Okay, so now same logic here. After 3 boys left and 3 girls entered, the total number of students will still remain the same, right? At first and in the end. Because when we talk about total, we don't care about the gender. So it's like telling you 3 students left and 3 students entered. So the total will still be the same. So total at first is 7 units, and total in the end is 4 units. Now can you see that there's a misalignment? Total cannot be 7 and 4 at the same time, they must be the same. So we need to do some manipulation. To the first row, we have to multiply the whole thing by 4. And to the last row, we have to multiply everything by 7. Good. So now I will draw at the end. So we have boys, 2 girls, 2 total. So at first, it will be 4 times 2, which is 8. 5 times 4, which is 20. 7 times 4, which is 28. The change is still the same. 3 boys left, 3 girls entered. In the end, we have 1 times 7, 7 unit here. 3 times 7, 21 unit here. And 4 times 7, 28 units here. So now I'll erase things to make things clearer. Okay, so this should be the final ratio. You can see that in the end, versus at first, the total number of students should be the same as what we have discussed earlier. Great. So now we can just focus on boys or on girls. You'll still get the same result. So if you just focus on boys, started with 8 units, end up with 7 units after 3 students left, which means 8 units minus 7 units, which is 1 unit. 1 unit belongs to 3. We can do it the same for girls, we'll get the same result. So if we just focus on girls, you can see that started out with 20 units, end up with 21 units. Which means that 21 unit minus 20 unit give you 1 unit, right? And this 1 unit belongs to 3. So you can see that we will come to the same conclusion. So we'll just use one of it. We'll use the one for boys. So 1 unit equals to 3. Now the question asks you, how many children were there in the school hall at first? So at first or in the end, the total number of students is the same. It's still 28 units. So what we want to do is want to find out what 28 unit is, which is just 28 times 3. Good. So answer should be 84. So it should be 84. Next, question 7. There are 3 metal rods. The length of rod A is 5/9 of the length of rod B. Rod C is 2/3 as long as rod B. If rod B is 81 cm longer than rod C, find the total length of the 3 rods. So now let's analyze the fractions. This 5 belongs to A, this 9 belongs to B, this 2 belongs to C, and this 3 belongs to B. Good. So we have 3 rods. We have A, we have B, we have C. In the first fraction, we are told that A is 5, B is 9. In the second fraction, we are told that C is 2 and B is 3. So if you look at this ratio over here, can you see that B cannot be 9 and 3 at the same time? Like you can only have one name at one time. You can't have 2 names at one time. So we're supposed to make B the same in both the first scenario and second scenario. So the lowest common multiple is actually 9. And that will mean that the second row, whole thing must times 3. So just to recall, how do you find the lowest common multiple? So these are the multiples of 9 and 3. So you can see that the number that is common in these 2 rows is 9. Which means that the lowest common multiple is 9. Okay, good. So now we can do, or we can just try to combine them together. So A will be 5, B will be 9, and C will be 2 times 3, which is 6. So 5 is to 9 is to 6. Now we can add another column called total. So total will just be 5 units plus 9 units plus 6 units. It should give you 20 units. Okay, now our ratio is perfect. Now we are given another information, which is that rod B is 81 cm longer than rod C. So let's compare B and C. B is 9 units, C is 6 units. So if I were to draw the model, one, two, three, four, five, six, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Erase. C is 6 units. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, something like that. So B is 9 units. Let me just write it properly. C is 6 units, and they tell you that B is 81 cm longer than C. So here will be 81. Which means how many units is 81? 3 units, right? So you just have to take 9 unit minus 6 unit, which is 3 unit. And this 3 unit belongs to 81, which means 1 unit belong to what divided by what? Good. 81 divided by 3, which will give you 27. Now what does the question want? Question wants the total length of the 3 rods. So total is how many units? Total is 20 units. So let's find out what 20 unit represents. So 20 unit will just be 20 times 27. Good. 20 times 27. So that should give you 540. And that's why answer is 540 cm. Remember to write the units, if not the teacher will assume the wrong units. Good. Next we'll move on. Question 8. Max collected 168 more stickers than Sam. After Max received 32 stickers from Sam, Max had 5 times as many stickers as Sam. How many stickers did Sam have at first? So even I'm not a god, so I also have to draw a model. So please draw the model with me. We have 2 characters, we have Max, we have Sam. So at first, who has more? At first, Max has more, right? 168 more than Sam. So we can write down. Then after that, Max received 32 stickers. Actually, I should write inside. Okay, so at first, Max has 168 more than Sam. Then Max received 32 stickers from Sam. So these 32 stickers came from Sam. Now in the end, Max has 5 times as many stickers as Sam. So Sam is left with 1 unit, while Max has 5 units in total. So now I can trace things out. So just go up. Here will also be 1 unit, here will also be 32. So if I take 5 unit minus 1 unit, I'll get 4 unit, right? Which means this remaining part is 4 unit. So far, okay? Which means 4 unit is 32 plus 168 plus 32. So that should give you 232. Then naturally you want to find out what 1 unit is. So that will be 232 divided by 4. Good. So answer is 58. Now what does the question want? They want how many stickers did Sam have at first? So it's before Sam gave away his 32 stickers. So question mark is here. So that's just 1 unit plus 32, right? You know what 1 unit is now, which is 58. So just 58 plus 32. And that should give you 90. Answer is 90. Good. If you got any questions, you can ask me later. Question 9. The figure below shows 4 identical circles of diameter 16 cm. Find the area of the shaded part. So we are given that diameter is 16 cm. So where is 16 cm? 16 cm is here, right? Which means here is 16. Okay, so now we are finding the area of shaded part. In order to find area of the shaded part, let's split into 4 equal parts. And let's try to find this red shaded area first. To find this red shaded area, so I will draw a point right smack in the middle. We have to take the area of this square minus this blue quadrant. Okay, so how do we find the area of the square? It's just radius times radius, right? So it's just radius times radius, right? Because it spans from the center of the circle all the way to the circle itself. So this is your radius. This is also a radius. Let me change the color to purple. Try yellow. So to find the area of this square is just radius times radius. So your diameter is 16, which means your radius is just 16 divided by 2, which is 8. So the yellow square is just 8 times 8, which will give you 64. Now let's find the blue quadrant. What does a quadrant mean? Quadrant just means 1/4 of a full circle, right? So we can take it step by step. We can just find the area of the circle first. And can you recall what's the formula? Is pi r square. So pi, we have to take it to be 3.14 in this question. Radius, we found it to be 8, right? So times 8 times 8. Which means if you just punch into your calculator, you should get 200.96. But we don't want the area of a circle. We want the area of this blue quadrant, this guy over here. So to do that, we just have to take 1/4 of the area of circle. So area of quadrant is just 200.96 divided by 4. And that should give you 50.24. Great. So now we got the area of the square, the yellow square, the area of the blue quadrant. Now we can find this red shaded part, right? Which is just the yellow square minus the blue quadrant. So it'll just be 64 minus 50.25. 50.24. And that should give you 13.76. So the area of the shaded part is just 4 times of it because there's 4 parts. 2, 3, 4. So this answer, we just multiply it by 4 and we can get the answer that we want. So punch in your calculator, you should get 55.04 cm square. So answer is 55.04 cm square. Good. This question is actually quite common, so please remember how to solve it. Next. Wendy, Xavier, and Sharon had an average of $436. The total amount of money Wendy and Xavier had was $88 more than Sharon. Xavier had $52 more than Wendy. How much money did Xavier have? So we have to make use of our tan triangle here. Can you guys recall the tan triangle? So total, A stands for average, N stands for number. Okay, so we got 3 characters here. So number is 3. And they tell you average is 436. So we can find the total amount that these 3 people have, right? And that will just be the average times the number. So it's 436 times 3. Punch into your calculator, you should get 1308. Now we can kind of draw the model. We know that Xavier had $52 more than Wendy. So 3 characters. Xavier has 52 more than Wendy. We also know that the 3 of them have 1308 altogether. Okay, now we are also given that the total amount of money that Wendy and Xavier had was 88 more than Sharon. So let's find out Wendy and Xavier had how much in total first. So Wendy and Xavier has 2 units plus 52 in total. And they tell you that it's 88 more than what Sharon has. Which means that Sharon has $88 less than what Wendy and Xavier had combined, right? So that will be 2 units plus 52. Wendy and Xavier combined minus 88. So Sharon has 2 units. 52 minus 88 give you minus 36. So 2 units minus $36. Okay, great. So Wendy and Xavier has 2 units plus 52. and Sharon has 2 units minus 36. And they sum up to be 1308. So 2 units plus 52 plus 2 units minus 36 give you 1308. So all the units you can plus together. So 4 units, 52 minus 36. That should give you 16. 4 units plus 16 give you 1308. So now we want all the units on one side and all the constant on the other side, right? So we try to shift the 16 over. So since here is plus, when you shift it over, sign becomes opposite. So it will just be 4 units equals to 1308 minus 16. So that should give you 1292. 4 units is 1292. 1 unit will just be 1292 divided by 4. So that should give you 323. How much money did, question wants how much money did Xavier have? So question mark is this purple guy over here, Xavier. Xavier has 1 unit plus 52, right? And 1 unit we found to be 323. So it just be 323 plus 52. And that should give you 375. Answer is hence 375. Dollar sign. Question 11. The line graph below shows the number of magazines sold from January to May. It asks you to find the increase in the number of magazines sold from March to April. And part B asks you to find, tell you that the total number of magazines sold from January to March was 2/3 the total amount of magazines sold from April to June. How many magazines were sold in June? So whenever you see a line graph, you need to label. So if you look at this line graph or you study it closely, so 2 gaps give you 4, which means 1 gap give you 4 divided by 2, which is 2. So 1 gap is 2, which means this guy is 2. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30, 32, 34, 36, 38. Okay, so January, it will be 22. February, so how you do is you trace it all the way to the left, be 36. March, it will be 24. April, they have you trace already, so it's 30. Then May will be 16. First, if I draw a line, use a ruler, it should be 16. Okay, good. So now everything is labeled, we can do the question. So what's the increase from March to April? March is 24, April is 30. So part A, what's the increase? Just 30 minus 24, which is 6 magazines. So part A answer is 6. Part B, let's study the fraction. 2 belongs from January to March. 3 belongs to April to June. So let's do January to March. When you sum up January to March, sum up means you have to add up, right? So January to March. What's the total? It will be 22 plus 36 plus 24. So it's 82. Now April to June. We don't have June information, we're supposed to find June information. But we're also given that January to March is 2 units. So 2 units is 82. 1 unit will just be 82 divided by 2, which is 41. And we are given that from April to June is 3 units. So 3 units will just be 41 times 3. So it will give you 1, 2, 3. So April to January must add up to 1, 2, 3. for June here. April to June must add up to 1, 2, 3. So they ask you to find out what June is. So we just have to take 1, 2, 3 minus April minus May. So 1, 2, 3 minus 30 minus 16. And that should give you 77. Hence, puppy answer is 77 magazines. We'll move on. Question 12. An iron cuboid measuring 27 cm by 3 cm by 3 cm was melted and made into a larger cube and a smaller cube. The volume of the smaller cube was 1/8 of the volume of the larger cube. Find the length of the side of the larger cube. Okay, let's start off by finding the volume of this iron cuboid first. So it measure 27 cm by 3 cm by 3 cm. So the convention is length by breadth by height. So you have an iron cuboid. The length is 27, breadth is 3, height is 3. So to find the volume of this iron cuboid, you just have to take, the formula is length times breadth times height. Good. So that should give you 27 times 3 times 3. And that should give you 243 cm cube. So we have this large iron cuboid. Then you split it into, you melt it, and you remake it into a larger cube and a smaller cube. What's so special about cube is that all sides are the same. So it's like a square, but a 3D version of a square. So the length is equals to the breadth is equals to the height, which means that the volume of these two cubes are going to be cube numbers. So cube numbers are things like this. So cube numbers are cube numbers. So 1 times 1 times 1 is a cube number. 2 times 2 times 2, which is 8. 8 is also a cube number. So length times breadth times height. So 3 times 3 times 3, which will give you 27, is also a cube number. So all these are called cube numbers. And the volume is one of, like these 3, for instance. Obviously, there's more. You can do 4 times 4 times 4, which will give you 64. 5 times 5 times 5 should give you 125. 6 times 6 times 6, which will give you 216. Maybe we'll do up to 7. 343. Okay, so the total volume of these two cubes is 243. And we are also given that the volume of the smaller cube was 1/8 the volume of the larger cube. 1 belongs to smaller cube and 8 belongs to larger cube. Okay, so let's do a hypothesis. So we have smaller cube and we have larger cube. And we have total. And you will have whether it's correct. So let's allow our smaller cube to be 8 cm cube, which means our larger cube is supposed to be 8 times 8, right? Because our smaller cube is supposed to be 1 unit and our larger cube is supposed to be 8 units of it. So if 1 unit is 8, means 8 unit is 8 times 8, which is 64. So total is 8 plus 64, which is 72. Does it equate to 243, which is what we want? No. So the smaller cube is not 8. Can the smaller cube be 27? If smaller cube is 27, larger cube will be 8 units of it, 8 times. So it will be 27 times 8, So it should give you 216. So 27 plus 216 gives you 243. Is it what you wanted? It is. And in fact, 216 itself is also a cube number. So both of them are actually cube numbers. Which is what we want, right? Because both the smaller and the larger figure are both cubes, which means that the volume must be cube numbers. And we got our answer. So what is the length of the side of the larger cube? So larger cube, the volume is 216, but it came from 6 times 6 times 6, which means the larger cube, the length is 6, the breadth is 6, and the height is 6. And that is why to answer the question, the length will be 6 cm. Good. Question 13. In the figure below not drawn to scale, ABCD is a straight line. ABE is a triangle. Find angle V and angle U. So for this type of angles question, you should learn to focus on different triangles. If you focus on many triangles at the same time, you will not be able to figure out the answer. So for part A, let us focus on this triangle at first. So this triangle. Okay, so can we find this angle over here? This right angle. Angle ECB. Which is this red shaded angle. It will just be what minus what minus what? It will be 180 minus 30 minus 103 degree, right? Because sum of angles in a triangle should add up to 180. So that should give you 47 degrees. Okay, now we cannot focus on this anymore. So this guy is 47. Now we'll focus on angle V. How do we find angle V? Can you see that this is angles on the straight line? So we also learned that angles on a straight line should add up to 180, right? So to find angle V, we just have to take 180 minus 47 minus 88, which is 45 degrees. So this will use angle on a straight line rule. This will use angle sum in a triangle. So those of you who can't see, angles on a straight line means these three angles should add up to 180 degrees. Cool? Okay, now we'll go on to part B. So I'll erase things. We found that V is 45. Okay, we'll move on to part B, which is to find angle U. So now we'll focus on a different set of triangle. We'll focus on this triangle instead. Okay, so same thing, we will still use the same rule, which is angle sum in a triangle, which means the three corners of a triangle, this corner, and this corner should add up to 180. So what I want to do is I want to find this green angle over here. So I can just take 180. Wait, so this green angle is angle AEC, which is just 180, angle sum in the triangle, minus the other two angles, right, which is 52 and 47. So 182 minus 52 minus 47, I should give you 81 degree. Good. So now we can actually find angle U. How do we find angle U? So we'll focus on this part now. This part over here. We can use the angle at a point U, which means that this angle plus this angle should add up to 360 degree, which means to find angle U, you can just take 360 minus 81 degree. And that should give you 279 degree. And we found both our answer. So part A is 45. Part B is 279 degrees. Okay, 14. Jasmine and Paul had some money in the ratio 7:4. Paul and Nick had some money in the ratio 2:1. When Jasmine spent some of her money and Paul gave Nick $15, the three children had the same amount of money each. How much money did Jasmine spend? So we got some ratio, but we also got three characters. Jasmine, Paul, and Nick. So Jasmine is to Paul is 7:4. Then we have Paul is to Nick, which is 2:1. So like I said earlier, Paul cannot be 4 and 2 at the same time. So let's try to make Paul the same in both scenario 1 and 2. And the lowest common multiple between 4 and 2 is 4. So this one whole thing just times 2. So there's no changes to Jasmine. Jasmine will be 7. Paul will be 2 times 2, which is just 4. And Nick will be 1 times 2, which is 2. Good. So now we are also given that Jasmine spent some of her money. So we don't know how much, but now we know she got less money. So don't know minus how much. But Paul also gave Nick $15. So, okay, wait, let me just clarify. These are all in units. Okay, so Paul gave Nick $15. So Paul now has $15 less. Nick has $15 more. Then they end up with the same amount. So Jasmine has the same amount as Paul, who has the same amount as Nick. So this at first. This change. This is in the end. So let's focus on Paul and Nick. So these two guys. So Paul initially started with 4 units and Nick started with 2 units. They end up with the same amount. Which means that one thing we can do is we try to collect from Paul and Nick. Then we redistribute them equally, right? To Paul and Nick so that they have the same amount. So Paul started with 4 units. Nick started with 2 units. So in total, Paul and Nick has 6 units. Then we redistribute them. So we collect from them, then we redistribute. So that they have equal amount in the end. So that will just be 6 units divided by 2, which is 3 units. So in the end, Paul is supposed to have 3 units. Nick is supposed to have 3 units. And since Jasmine also has the same amount in the end, Jasmine is supposed to have 3 units. So can you see that everyone is supposed to have 3 units in the end? Which makes sense, right? Because 4 units minus 15 give you 3 units. 2 units plus 15 give you 3 units. Which means if we look at this, 4 units minus 3 units is 1 unit. So 1 unit is 15, right? We'll get the same answer if you look at this blue box. Because 2 units plus 15 give you 3 units. Which means that the change is 3 units minus 2 units, which is 1 unit. And the change in this case is 15. Sounds good? If that is good, then I'll erase things. And I'll shift this over. So 1 unit is 15. Then they ask you how much money did Jasmine spend? So that was what the question one. So if you look at Jasmine, Jasmine is this girl over here, right? The one in blue. So can you see that Jasmine initially started off with 7 units? In the end, she only has 3 units, which means how many units did Jasmine spend? She spent 7 units minus 3 units, which is 4 units, right? So this one is minus 4 units. Which means how much did Jasmine spend is 4 units. So let's find out what 4 units is, which is just 15 times 4. So that should give you 60. Jasmine actually spent $60. So I hope this is good. This is not the hardest question. There's actually one question that's harder than this later on. We'll move on to question 15. Town A and Town B are 645 kilometers apart. At 8:30 a.m., a car set off from Town A to Town B at an average speed of 70 kilometers per hour. At 12 noon, a bus left Town B for Town A at an average speed of 80 kilometers per hour. At what time would the two vehicles pass each other? So we have two towns, we have A and we have B. At 8:30, there's a car that set off from A to B. Then at 12 noon, there's a bus that travels not from A to B, but B to A. So the car set off first, then the bus set off later. So from 8:30 a.m. to 12 noon, what's the distance that the car will have traveled? Okay, so let's try this also. From town A to town B, distance is 645 kilometers. So we'll have two timelines, right? So from 8:30 to 12 noon, only the car moved. And how much did the car move? Or what's the distance that the car moved? We have to make use of this DFT triangle, which stands for distance, speed, and time. How do we make use of this triangle, right? Is that speed times time will give you the distance. So for this car over here, we are given that the speed is 70 kilometers per hour. Take note is per hour. So your time also must be in hour. And how many hours is it between 8:30 to 12? So you can draw a timeline. 8:30 to 12. How many hours is that? So from 8:30, the nearest hour is 9. So that's 30 minutes. From 8:30 to 9. And from 9 to 12, how many hours is that? 3 hours, right? So from 8:30 to 12 is 3 hours, 30 minutes. 3 hours, 30 minutes. If I want to convert it to just hour, it will be 3.1. Or 3 whole watt over watt. Because 1 hour is 60 minutes, right? So to convert from minutes to hours, we have to take the minutes, divide it by 60. So it's 3.5 hours. So time is 3.5 hours. Good. So I can erase this. Okay, so the car traveled, so distance traveled by car will be speed times time, right, which is 70 times 3.5 or 3.5. So punch into your calculator, you should get 245. So at 12 noon, the car will have traveled 245 kilometers already. And hence, the distance between the car and the bus should be 645 minus 245, which is 400 kilometers. So at 12 noon, the car will be here already. Okay, now at 12 noon, the car and the bus are moving towards each other. The car is moving towards the bus at 70 kilometers per hour, or the bus is moving towards the car at 80 kilometers per hour. How do you rate this speed, right? Is that 1 hour later, the car will have traveled 70 kilometers. And for the bus, 1 hour later, the bus will have traveled 80 kilometers. So after every hour, the car and the bus is closer to each other by 70 plus 80 kilometers, which is 150 kilometers. So after 1 hour, they are closer to each other by 150 kilometers. That is how you rate your speed. Okay, so we are asked to find out at what time would the two vehicles pass each other. So we are only focused on this part of the journey. I need it bigger. So since they are traveling towards each other, right, we can add up the speed because they are 150 kilometer closer to each other. Okay, so we'll draw back this triangle, DST. So we are given that the distance between each other is 400 kilometer. It's the one in blue here. Then we are also given that the combined speed is 150 kilometer per hour. So the time, because this is per hour, right? So the time will also be in hour. So how do you find the time? It's just distance divided by speed. So that should give you 2 whole 2/3 hour. 2 whole 2/3 hour, convert it to hour and minute. So it's 2 whole, right? 2 whole hour, right? So it's definitely 2 hour. What about 2/3 hour? How do you convert it to minutes? Just 2/3 times 60, because 1 hour is 60 minutes. So 2/3 times 60, so that will be 40 minutes. So it's equivalent to 2 hour 40 minutes. So at what time? So it's 2 hour 40 minutes after 12 noon, because they started traveling towards each other at 12 noon, right? So it started at 12 p.m. 2 hours later, it will be 2 p.m. And another 40 minutes later, it will be 2:40 p.m. And that's why the answer is 2:40 p.m. Good. Okay. So this is actually the hardest question, question 16. At first, Jessie had 2/3 as many bits as Lynn. After Jessie bought 84 more bits and Lynn lost 25 bits, Jessie now has 4/5 as many bits as Lynn. Find the number of bits Jessie had at first. So we have at first, we have change, and we have in the end. So at first, these two belongs to Jessie. So we have two characters, Jessie and Lynn. At first, Jessie has 2 units, and Lynn has 3 units. Then Jessie bought 84, so that's more, right? So you plus 84. Lynn lost 25, so minus 25. In the end, Jessie has 4, right? Instead of writing 4 units, I write 4 parts so that it doesn't confuse you. And this 5 belongs to Lynn. So Lynn has 5 parts. Cool? So this is where it starts being very confusing. So if you focus on Jessie, 2 units plus 84 give you 4 parts. Now you focus on Lynn, 3 units minus 25 give you 5 parts. Cool? So we will try to eliminate one of them. So we will either try to get rid of units or parts. And we'll do this method called the elimination method. So what you do is that you either make the units in the first scenario and second scenario the same, or you make the parts in the first scenario and second scenario the same. So we'll try to make the parts the same, which means that we are trying to get rid of the parts. So the lowest common multiple of 4 and 5 is 20. So 4 times 5 and 5 times 4. So for the first row, everything times 5. So 2 times 5 give you 10. 84 times 5 give you 420. 4 times 5 give you 20 parts. Cool. So now we'll move on to the second row. 3 units times 4 give you 12. 25 times 4 give you 100. But remember this is minus, so minus 100. 5 times 4 give you 20 parts. Okay. Cool. So now if you look at it, we have two equations, right? 10 unit plus 420 is equals to 20 parts. And this 20 part is also equals to 12 unit minus 100. So this is equals to this is equals to this, which also means this is just equals to this, right? So 10 unit plus 420 is equals to 12 unit plus 100. So whenever we have an equation like this, we'll try to move all the units to one side and all the constant or like all the whole number to the other side. So if there's no sign, it just means it's plus. So if you want to shift this 10 over, this 10 unit over, since this is plus, if you want to shift it over, it has to be minus, right? So 420 is equals to 12 unit minus 100 minus 10 unit. So if I simplify this, 12 minus 10 should give you 2 units. Now I want to shift this minus 100 over. So since this is minus, if I want to shift it over, it will become plus. So 420 plus 100 is equals to 2 units, which means 2 units is just 420 plus 100 is 520. Cool? Okay. So now 1 unit is just 520 divided by 2, which is 260. Now what does the question want? The question wants to find the number of bits Jessie have at first. So let's look at Jessie. Jessie at first 2 units, which means you just have to find out what 2 unit represents, which we actually did find out. So you can do another step. So 2 units is just 260 times 2. Or you actually don't even need to do this step because we already found it here. So answer will just be 520 bits. Question 17. Peter cuts a 12 cm square into 4 pieces, P, Q, R, and S along the dotted lines as shown. He finds that the 4 pieces can be arranged to form a rectangle. What is the area of the rectangle that is formed? And part B, what is the perimeter of the rectangle that is formed? So this is actually a trick question. It's actually very easy, but they try to trick you to think that it is hard. Okay, so let's do part A first. Area of rectangle. What's the formula for area of rectangle? It's just length times breadth. Good. So what's the length? The length is here, right? Which is just 8 plus 4, so that gives you 12, right? And the breadth is just 6 plus 3 plus 3 should give you 12. So even if you do it on this side, the breadth should give you the same number, which is 9 plus 3, which is also 12. So the length is 12, the breadth is also 12. So length times breadth gives you the area, which is 144 cm squared. Next, perimeter. Perimeter means you just add up all the sides. So here will also be 12. So here is 12, here is 12, here is 12, here is 12. 12 plus 12 plus 12 plus 12 is just 12 times 4, right? So perimeter just 12 times 4 cm should give you 48 cm. Hence, we got our two answers. Part A is 144 cm squared. Part B is 48 cm. And we are finally done with our last question. So our last question is, the total number of cards in box A, box B, and box C was 1022 at first. Denise gave away 3/5 of the cards from box A, put 70 more cards into box B, and added some cards into box C until the number of cards in box C became thrice its original number. The ratio of the number of cards in box A to that in box B to that in box C then became 2:5:9. Part A asks you, how many more cards were there in box C than box A in the end? And part B asks you, what was the percentage increase in the number of cards in box B? So for this question, right, what we have to do is we have to reverse everything. So we'll start from what's in the end first. So in the end, A is to B is to C is 2 is to 5 is to 9. Then we'll go through what were the steps taken again. So first step was give away 3/5 of the cards from box A. Second step that Denise did was put 70 more cards into box B. Third step was add some cards into box C until the number of cards in box C became thrice its original number. So when we reverse, we'll undo step 3 first, then undo step 2, then undo step 1. So now let's try to undo step 3 first. So you added some cards into box C until box C was thrice its original number, right? So undo step 3. Which means that now we have to remove the cards that was added to box C. So now box C was thrice its original number. So its original number is actually 1/3, which means it will be 9 divided by 3. So if you undo step 3, C should have 3 units instead. So these are all in units, by the way. So A and B will remain. So now we try to undo step 2. So since you put 70 more cards into box B, now box B will remove those cards. So box B will be 5 units minus 70. Now let's undo step 1. What did we do in step 1? Was Denise gave away 3/5 of what was in box A. So 5 belongs to box A, 3 units was what was given away. And it makes sense because whatever was left was 2 units. So since you gave away in step 1, to undo step 1, we have to put back whatever we give back, right? Whatever we give. Which means that we have to plus 3 units. So after you undo, it will be 5 units. So 5 units minus 70 is to 3 units. So this was the original. And we also given that the total originally is 1022. Let's also find out what was the original in the first place. So the total is 5 units plus 5 units minus 70 plus 3 units. So the total was 5 units plus 5 units plus 3 units gives you 13 units minus 70. So this was the total at first. And we're also given that is 1022. So these two equals to each other. So 13 units minus 70 equals to 1022. So all the units should be on one side and all the constants or all the whole numbers should be on the other side, right? So we want to shift this 70 over. So since it is minus, when we shift over, it should be plus. So 13 units is just 1022 plus 70. Should give you 1092. And to find out what 1 unit is, we just take 1092 divided by 13. So that should give you 84. Now the question asks, how many more cards were there in box C than box A in the end? So this was in the end, right? So we are comparing box C and box A. So the difference between A and C is 9 units minus 2 units, which is 7 units. So we just have to find out what 7 units represents, which is just 84 times 7. So that should give you 588. Now the question, so this is part A answer. Now let's try to solve part B answer. Okay, let's focus on B. So B in the end has 5 units and B at first is 5 units minus 70. So we will do in the end first. In the end, B has 5 units, right? 5 units is just 84 times 5. So that should give you 420. And at first, so the original, B had 5 units minus 70. So at first, B had 5 units, which is 420 minus 70. So that's 350. So the question asks for percentage increase, right? So what's the formula for percentage increase? Did you find out what's the increase? What's the original? So over the original times 100%. So at first is 350, in the end is 420. So it increased by 70, right? So the increase is by 70. At first, which is the original, is 350. So over 350 times 100%. So that should give you 20%. And that's why part B answer is 20%. And part A answer was 588. Cool. So any questions, you can just ping me now.